First of all my slides will be on SlideShare, since someone asked, they will be on online. And talking about our case, I have to admit that founding a social media command center was the end of a journey that Telecom Italia did in the last 3 or 5 or 4 years. There was a first moment in which I admit that Telecom Italia was thinking exactly like other big companies, which means we need to be on social media because our competitors are on social media. So if they open a page on Facebook, why I don't have to have a page on Facebook? And if they have an account on Twitter, why don't I have to have an account on Twitter? That was what we reasoning about this journey called a first wave of social media consciousness, a moment in which someone understood that, okay, maybe we have to be there, but was a sort of fatalistic approach to the theme. In a second time, we understood, and other companies did, that social media actually are a concrete possibility of engagement and a way to make companies more near to their customers and to users, and also a way to gain attention and dialogue. And especially, social media is a brand building opportunity. And in this sense, in this case, social media monitoring can give an interesting contribute of this kind of way of thinking. So, our idea at one point was that actually social media monitoring is a sort of enabler in many senses. For example, you can use, and we will see how we are doing this in Telecom Italia, you can use social media monitoring as a strategy builder, as something that gives you insights and give you feedback, and you have to transform this feedback into strategy. And is also, as we said, a relationship creator, but a meaningful relationship creator, which means that your main purpose must not be just getting in touch with users, because that is quite easy, but is making these relationships last in time. And which is to us one of the main important things, is a brand awareness builder, since our monitoring room is part of the corporate communication area, and this means that we are interested in understanding how much people talk about us, but especially how what they are saying can have an impact on our brand reputation and on our brand image. So it's kind of a mix between tangible and intangible KPIs that we are interested into. But we got a problem when we started thinking to, okay, what can we do? How can we listen to what people is saying about us? Which are the channels in which we can listen to people? We actually, our doubt was that will we have enough data to analyze? We have too many data to be analyzed. We understood that we have call logs, we have what people were saying on forums and or websites, aggregators and so on. And we also have our properties that during time we were constructing. So we had a problem of quantity. And big data brings with them a lot of problems, like a difficulty to be analyzed with proper algorithms and with a good machine learning activities, since if you have to analyze a really huge quantity of data, you need to teach machines and software to work for you and to make your work easier. They are also, we were also managing data that were growing in a really fast way. At one point we started reflecting on which KPIs are better to use, and when we arrived to understand which were the best ones, Facebook changed it inside, or Twitter changed these insights, and so we had to start again. And the fast at which data grows is really bigger than our capacity to analyze them, or software capacity to analyze them. So, talking about, this was a sort of theoretical reflection we make behind the born of our facility. And as I was saying, we are quite big, so we had the problem also of our presence in the world, because Telecom Italia some years ago bought both Telecom Argentina and Team Brazil. So we also have properties in South America, and our problem was how people perceive our brand there. Since this is all our presence, both in Italy and outside, and you know, Telecom Italia has a strong reputation in Italy because until 20 years ago it was a state property, so it was something like a monopolistic operator, but outside, how can we leverage our image? How can all the data that we are also collecting from the outside could help us? We started reflecting on how can we be present and communicate outside our brand image also through online properties. That's why 4 years ago, as I said in the beginning, we started working a lot on web and social media. And we worked a lot on research. We have research and strategy area that works a lot. For example, with classical offline surveys, focus group, and all these kind of stuffs, and worked really a lot to map our landscape, understand how, according to the Italian needing of and perception of web, we could redesign our web system. But along with all this redesign, along with all this presence on social and on web, we needed to understand also how to control all this presence and how to take something back that could give us some interesting insights. And in 2009, we make a very strange discovery. During a focus group, emerged that people loved Telecom Italia more online than offline, which means that after 50 years that Telecom Italia exists, people offline said Telecom Italia sucks, more or less. They don't love us so much. But online, people was really, really surprised by us. They loved our online initiatives, the way in which we communicated ourselves online through websites, as I said, and through social media. So our idea was, how can we, starting from our online presences and from what perception, from the perception that people has of us online, try to transform and bring this perception also to the offline, to our offline reputation. We worked a lot on research. We increased in that time our online presence, especially on social media. And we decided to activate a reputation monitoring room. The picture you see there, is one of on our wall. We are physically disposed with, we have a lot of monitor to understand, as I will explain, what's happening in real time and especially how we are performing. We have some question at that point. We have this big issue of understand, of bring people bring people perception from online to our offline idea. And according to all the initiatives we were doing, we have a lot of doubts. These are the mains. For example, we wanted to economically, literally, understand how to evaluate our investments, all the money we were investing on social especially and on the web. How could we measure the impact of this online initiative on our brand reputation, so more in general on our brand image, and especially how could we transform all the engagement we daily make in a concrete engagement strategy of long term. All doubts shared by several companies. We know we were not the only one, and we took inspiration from some initiative from US. At that time, you have to think that both Dell and Intel had activated some social media command center, and they took example from Gatorade, which has also activated it in 2009, I guess, or 2010. And so, in June 2011, after 2 years of thinking and researching and deciding how to start up this reputation monitoring room, we born, and we immediately, at the beginning, our main purpose was to collect quantitative analytics. We are a real-time monitoring facility, but at the beginning we were focused on all these quantitative analytics that we were able to collect from property channels or blogs, forums, aggregators, all these kind of sources that we had online. And at that time, we were focused on quantitative analytics because we really, really need to understand how we could measure the efficacy of our events and initiative. And that is the picture of the whole reputation monitoring room. So we started to gain some attention also from the outside because one of the main characteristics, I guess, that we have is that we are an internal facility. When Telecom Italia decided to try to give an answer to all these questions I told you, we started with thinking, how could we do that? Do we call someone from the outside and ask them, please, do something, start up a monitoring room, but manage this thing as an external service? Or we wanted to maintain the control of this facility. We maintained it, and in this sense, we are one of the few cases up to now that maintain this facility in internal. That's why we gain some attention from Forrester and took some prizes. Which this one is the last one. When I don't want to say this thing, but we beat also Deutsche Telekom 2 weeks ago, so we are proud of this thing in Berlin. So we are really proud of this thing. I know, but it's our pride. 2 weeks ago in Berlin is our pride. Sorry, I have to say that. By the way, okay, go on. You never see this slide, and as I was saying, that was really a problem to us because we decided to be internal. But on the other side, our web and social awareness was growing really fast because we decided to use a strategy in which every single as a page, for example, on Facebook, and as a presence on Twitter, on which, for example, we make also social CRM. This means that at that time we had a sort of multiplication of our social and web presences. We are present on web with more than 10 websites. We are present on Facebook, as you can see by the numbers. On Pinterest, we have really a lot of presence, which means a lot of conversations also about us, both spontaneous and led by us. We collect more than 10,000 conversations per month, but among them we choose just to analyze 1,500 because we make a sort, we select them according to the things that are a priority to us. So if we are doing some events or initiative or something similar during that period. And this is more or less our process, is a very schematic way to expose it. But we start, as I said, collecting data. So data that come in, conversation that are coming from blogs, forums, social networks, whatever, and our properties. We elaborated some sets of KPI. Now I will show some to you. And then we process all this data through some software. We have both software like Radian 6 that I guess all of you know. And we also have some internally developed tool. We have some developers that works for us in order to develop something that is directly developed by us, and we are working with this PHP framework which is called Symfony. And we also have external research that we collect, coming, for example, from Aecon, Doxa, Forrester, and other brands. Because our position inside the company is not just to collect what we analyze, what we monitor, but is also to collect things coming from third-party monitoring. So we are the only allowed and certified part of the company which can collect and then dispatch again to the various social business units. In this sense, we act as a bridge inside our company. And our main outcome are reports, obviously, and reports that can be focused on our performances, on competitor performances, or focused on specific initiatives. And we also prepare benchmark, market analysis. We have a very a very multidisciplinary approach in our monitoring room. So we are very, very different. We have, for example, a physics, and we also have an engineer and 2 marketing experts. So, you know, we are more or less trying to cover all this kind of different area. And we also we codified a sort of alerting processes for our press office. Since, as I said, Telecom Italia is not exactly loved by users, mainly. So we need to immediately tell something to the press office if someone is saying something bad about us, or especially about our management. We need to immediately advise them. They usually take their measures, so I don't know, they publish press releases, or talk to their bosses, or sometimes there's a precise hierarchic process, and then we monitor again the effect of these kind of processes. So our real-time alerting process is quite strange, because we decided an action plan, but we always modify it according to the different cases. So we have a sort of database of possible cases and know immediately every time that something happened, who to alert or what to do. We are learning it time by time. And we analyze all this stuff through an integrated analysis model. Integrated because we integrate different channels. We try to find out comparable KPIs in order to make meaningful comparison between different things. And we work in straight connection with our operation business line, which means people working on social media and on customer operations in general. This is, for example, what we take in account for events and initiatives. So every time we need to analyze some conversations related to our events, we try to understand who makes the communication activities, if it's something that we own or is not a led by brand conversation. We have different weights according to different sources, and which are the channels in which these communication activities take place, and which are the best KPIs. And these are more or less the outcome that you are trying to analyze, and which are always at the center of our activities. So, for example, one of the most important of this outcome is trying to understand how is the quantity of spontaneous conversation versus led by brand and partners communication activities, which means how much people is really interested by us, because, you know, we can send 100 tweets and nobody retweets us, or nobody makes a mention to us, so we are talking alone, even if we are in a social media channel, so that is not so interesting. When we weight sources, we need to weight to give a different weight to different sources. And we do the same with competitors, since most of these data are public, so we don't have problems with, you know, authorization or similar. And in general, these are, talking about ownership, these are the ownership channel we take in account, so properties, or if come from advertising, if they're for partners or similar. These are our main channels, and these are some of the KPI we use. These are the most popular, and these are comparable from one channel to another, so we use it for this reason, and we also have others connected with advertising and investment that we manage to decide with our investment and financial office. And this, for example, of course, numbers are fake. This is strategic, or next time will be. This is the dashboard we use, for example, for properties, in order to analyze which is the reach of an events that we usually create dedicated websites to our events. So, for example, we decided to use the reach as a comparable metric, because it's the only one we could use both on web and on Facebook, and of course on Twitter. Same for streaming and engagement in general, and sentiment, which is manually attributed, because in Italian we don't have good tools for sentiment analysis, and we need at least a 95% accuracy, so the only solution is do that manually. That's why we select 1,500 sources, conversations, per month, as I said. And this allow us to understand which was the contribution of every channel. You have to imagine that we have other dashboard similar to this for led by brand and spontaneous conversation. And then we elaborate everything. This is only the quantitative part, and try to understand which can be the qualitative strategic suggestion. We also try to understand, since we are really interested in understanding the brand impact of all this data, we also try to understand, according to the sentiment that people shows respect to our initiative, which is the impact of the single initiative on our brand. So how did it contribute to improve the perception that people have of Telecom Italia, or how it didn't, or damaged it? And we make the same with we make the same both with properties and partners. So this is an index that we elaborated. This is a simple example, is just a performance dashboard. So how did we grow up in the last 4 weeks? This is for Facebook. We do the same for Twitter and for Google+, manually for Google+, since there are no APIs at the moment. And this gives us the possibility to understand if we are performing in a good way or bad, and why eventually can be the reason of this difference. And talking about our next projects that neither Bjorn knows, because the was not is a very recent thing. We are working a lot, since I told you we are part of the corporate communication area, but in our area there's also all the part of the company which is in charge for offline surveys, focus group, etc. So we need to find a way to conjugate these two words, especially because we need to understand if what people says offline about us, as I told you at the beginning, as a sort of relationship with who they are online. So it's possible to find a sort of correspondence in behavior of people offline and online. How can we identify our fan? It's quite easy offline. You take 500 people and you say, what do you think of Telecom? According to your range, you will be a fan, a rejecter, or whatever. Online is not so easy. And we are trying to understand if we can find a touch point between these two words. So we are doing this through social network analysis, because as I mentioned, we have a strong research committed due to our academic past. Some of them have PhD, or they are Santa Fe Institute fellow, which means that we are kind of nerdy group, but we love these kind of things because we can really reason a lot on algorithms or on this kind of analysis in order to understand how people behave and how people tend to aggregate around our events and around our brand. And if it has a correspondence with what people say about us in the offline world. So at the moment, for example, one of the main things that the company is asking us is, please try to understand who these people really are, which is the age, from where they come from, which is their gender, which means how can we translate the interaction people do with your brand, both offline and online, in a commercial offer, which is targeted to precise people in precise places. That's why we are trying to conjugate these two words, and we are working exactly on this kind of things. So we are really interested in understanding which are the main clusters of people talking about us, what they say, how do they aggregate according to the different topic, which kind of engagement they generate when they talk to us, when they do that on Facebook or on Twitter. How do they use our channel? What do they say about us in these different channels? And during the last 2 months, we were asked to export these kind of experiences to our top clients. We have a business line which is called Top Clients and works with huge main Italian companies, in order to give them telecommunication services like broadband and all this kind of stuff. But since a lot of companies took consciousness of the necessity that they have to having a monitoring of their brand reputation, they asked us to repeat our experience and in some sense export it. So we are working also to understand how can we adapt our KPIs also to different kind of industry, and so different necessity. And these are, in general, our next steps. So we are working a lot on our research area in order to understand how can we improve our social network analysis activities, our cluster representation. So we work a lot also on the visible part of this analysis. And we are working a lot on understanding users' behavioral patterns, attitude, because this gives us the possibility to, in some way, make predictions, which means if people tend to always do this kind of thing when I do this kind of events, maybe next time I can make a better targeted activities, or I yet know who are my influencers or who are the potential influencers. So talking about, for example, digital PR, I can go targeted to some person in particular. And of course, we are working on improving our model, especially because we need to export our experience, as I said. So, in general, these are the 3 things that are leading our activities during the last months. We want to work a lot on process innovation. We want to work a lot on model integration and also on tools. Our strength relies on people, but relies also on tools and on the capacity to teach these tools how to behave and how to better give us insights. And so I hope this will guide our activities in the next months. And that's it. I finish.
Thank you. Thank you, Emanuela. You talked about it. To which department the command center is belonging to? It's corporate communications.
Yes. Oh, yes.
So
it was the former external relations.
Okay. So this is also the main sponsor for who is paying the money.
Exactly. So exactly, we are talking about hierarchic structure. We are exactly under the president, so we report directly to the management, and that's why we are in charge. And we work as a bridge between different business units, included the people working on investments, advertising, etc.
But your clients, your internal clients, stakeholders, those are also the product management for the brands, departments. I don't know what you were calling it. The different business lines.
Yes, business lines. So. Yes, they all report to us and asks us for insights about different things. That's why we, for example, realize benchmark, marketing analysis, etc. That's exactly for them. So, for example, product business asks us to analyze conversation about similar products from competitors. Formerly, they asked it to external partners or companies, but now they ask directly to us, because according to the experience we now have about Telecom Italia, we can say, hey, this happened to us also last year, but that's how we manage this thing. And so the same is happening to your competitor. It's like we are a sort of social memory of all the stuff regarding us.
So how was this awareness built up for social media also on the business lines? Because, well, you're a competence center belonging to corporate communications, external relations, but it's not naturally that the business lines are aware of the importance of social media and asking you for data and insights on their customer and really having awareness about the social media channel. So how was this awareness built up? Was there any incident at any time which brought the awareness towards the company, or was there a guidance program or something?
Originally, we were part of domestic market operations. So when the reputation monitoring room was born, we were exactly inside the business area. Then, according to the necessity that the whole company had to have a command center, they decided to put us on the top in general of corporate area, which to us is not something so separate from business area, which means that we, in any case, we collaborate, even if they are more interested, for example, on quantitative analytics. So to them is more important to know how many people is saying bad things about us in forums that not to say, for example, I don't know, to do social network analysis or similar. So we tailor our reports according to the different necessities.
So, and regarding your outline to your future or your next steps, you said it's process integration or something, process innovations and model integration. That means that you want your process be part more, the process of listening to the social media discussions, more part of the process, or what's behind this again?
At the moment, our main purpose is trying to conjugate the offline and the online world. So in that sense, we need a more strong integration, trying to find a bridge between all the activities we do offline and how they are perceived and how they impact the online perception and vice versa, which means how the online perception can leverage or change the offline perception of the company. So in this sense, we need an integration. We need to find KPIs that are comparable between offline and online world and analysis.
This is all still about, well, the corporate image and the corporate reputation and also the brand image. What about customer service issues? So, and the integration of the monitoring into the whole direct customer interaction process.
Yes, we also do that because at the beginning when that was one of the first things we did, because since we activated a couple of years ago social CRM on Twitter, we needed to understand how this affected our offline customer relationship activities, which means, for example, how did the quantity of things solved, the issues solved via Twitter in some way influenced the amount of hours and of calls to our call centers? Is there a relationship? So we also trying to conjugate these two activities, and this is something we do since a very long time.
So before integrating all the other questions, one last question from my side. What do you think? What was the main driver of your of the evolution of the project? So on the evolution of the awareness of the importance of the essential command center. So which were the factors which brought this awareness into the company?
Well, actually, the question was, could you tell us which is the ROI of social media? Which is quite creepy as question. And no, we think not. No, you have to find an answer. So our main driver was exactly, you are born to find an answer to this question, and that was our main driver for the first year.
So really justifying social media activities, which
yes, exactly, because we invest a lot. So since there is a sort of habit, they know that they invest this quantity of money and they have this kind of effect. And since on social media it's not exactly possible to measure the value of brand reputation, they needed to give a value to this kind of presence. So that was our main driver, literally.
Thank you. It was really impressive, actually. I'm afraid I have to say you probably won with a reason, the communication award.
Please don't tell that, or I won't go out alive from here, please.
So just two things that are probably that I thought about in the first minute is, or basically as you walked along through your discussion and through your presentation, was, since you're very strategically and process-based in terms of the monitoring, it would be interesting if you could say a little bit about the connection between your research results and, for example, the process that you have built up in order to really make sure that the results go into the marketing strategies and tactics, for example.
Okay.
And the other thing that I would be interested in is if you can say anything about the percentage of budget invested into the research and monitoring versus marketing strategies and tactics, for example, just to get a feeling of how much of work you invest into that in terms of the whole thing. I
can't answer to the second one, but at the moment, no, I can tell you that there's a great spread at the moment. The marketing department always have a very large, huge quantity of money invested in it, so I guess it's quite normal. But finally, they are trying to listen to us, and so they are letting us guide them in some way to understand which will be the best way to invest their money. And talking about this, and going to your first question, there were two main results that we obtained almost immediately. The first one was making the press office more efficient, because we noticed that since they were not aware of what people were saying online, sometimes little crises became really huge crises, especially when involving our management. When we started to set up some alerting processes, this changed, and so they are now more efficient, and they are now, for example, they can now address directly some kind of communication to people that they are sure that will immediately spread that kind of news. So they know who are their friends and how they have to react to some alerts that we send. And the other results was economic. Because, for example, last year we make a lot of events, really a lot of events, and we spend a lot of money in that. And according to our marketing department, they were doing the right thing, because no, this event is so cool, we need to invest in it. No, because people didn't like our participation in that, or people didn't, associate our name to that event, because we were, for example, giving just the streaming, and so nobody said, oh, at Telecom Italia, we are there. No, nobody. So we try to make them understand by comparing different events that maybe next time, trying to think before doing this kind of thing, especially for events that repeat every year or that are periodical in general, could be useful. They listened to us. It was a miracle, but they listened to us. It was quite a miracle, it was a struggle, but they listened to us. And so, for example, this year, for 2013, they invested according to all the feedback that we collected from online conversations. And I hope that everything will be fine, or will be our fault. So,
but again, this needs for this decision, well, asking a social media monitoring department about the outreach of an offline event and whether it's suitable for my marketing investment is already a big awareness of the importance of social media in general for the reputation within the company. It's not limited only on the on the digital channel. It's on all reputation channels. So, especially
because, for example, when you make an offline event, you usually communicate it, for example, on your social channels. You also invest in advertising to communicate it, so it makes sense.
Therefore, again, my question: how was this awareness achieved? That, well, this will for me, this is already a very high mature stage of a company. Having the awareness that, well, I'm looking at social media and taking this discussions and the perception of my company within social media also for offline activities, marketing activities already.
Which is one of the advantages, the economic one. And talking about how we managed to transform this and translate this online perception in other in a concrete advantage for the brand image, we identified, for example, the most influential people on these topics, and so they are, for example, very active. So we can start with an offline event and know who can communicate that in a efficient way online. So we also improved our communication activities.
All right. So basically, what you're doing is you are the touchpoint planning center for all basically marketing and media activities.
Yes, and communication activities. Yes, exactly.
That's pretty cool. Now, my question is has your research gone as far as kind of like correlating the media spend on, let's say, each event or each classical campaign to say that, you know, if you spend more money as the classical marketing department on, let's say, a TV campaign, this should translate in so much more online buzz, and then rating those activities against each other to kind of like come up with an optimized media plan by measuring the buzz resulting from the media plan? And my second question is, you're a telecommunications company. What the hell kind of content do you have on Pinterest? I'm really interested.
Really interesting.
Okay, so starting from the last one, which has a lot of success. So we organize a lot of offline events, and so we produce a lot of pictures. And you will be surprised, but a lot of our users online produce pictures related to our events, and we have a very interesting Pinterest page. You will be surprised. So if you want to follow us, we will be really good. And talking about your first question, yes, we are working on predictive analytics, which integrates both investments in offline classical channels and buzz, trying to understand if there's a correlation between online buzz and, for example, classical advertising investments, which means that this kind of predictions could lead also our media mix strategy. So yes, we are working on that with some American companies at the moment, research companies.
Then last question, since I already have the microphone here, I'm going to use it. Would that also include some other touch points that are not classically media related? Let's say in-store, point of sale, packaging of your products, maybe even? Remarks on your billing or stuff like that?
Our idea was trying to, for example, integrate also data coming from our shop point. But the department is still thinking if they want to give us this kind of information and allow us to integrate it. Because I know that can sound strange to them, because they want to know, how do you relate how many people visit our shops with how many people talks about us? They don't understand the correlation, so we are trying to explain to the different parts. As I said at the beginning, there is a sort of gradual consciousness about social media monitoring importance, but I didn't say that the whole company arrived contemporarily to this kind of consciousness, so we are working on that.
Perfect.
Okay. Thank you, Emanuela. At this point, yeah, a big applause.